all Canadian families, we are on the Titanic. The iceberg hasn't hit yet, so we're not sinking. If we don't shift course, that iceberg is coming for us.
I'm not planning on leaving. I'm fighting. We want to make this country incredibly great.
We begin to see that it really isn't about diversity. It is about punishing the people who perform beyond the mean.
For people who don't care, where do you see Canada going?
Oh, it's catastrophic. It is that bad.
What is the carbon tax doing to lower carbon emissions?
Exactly.
I love this country. I was born in this country. I believe in what this country stands for. I believe in its people. I believe as a place opportunity for all to come and live, but the path that we're on is not working. And we are not going to be what we're supposed to be if we continue along this path.
Yeah. Citizens, we are in the same studio, finally,
We're back.
once again.
How you guys doing? Thanks
Show-
for joining us today.
Show truly does go on.
It's been a number of weeks.
I think I've said that every show we've ever started.
We're at home. Feels so good,
Yes, it does.
except for the colder weather
This isn't cold.
compared to Florida was.
Oh, I was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I came from Winnipeg.
Yeah.
It's plus 16 today. I was like, this is amazing.
Lots of stuff to go through. I hope you guys are doing well wherever you're listening to or where you're listening to us from. Hope you guys have been good. We have some obviously updated this week. Today is Wednesday. And Mark Carney, the Prime Minister, called an election on Sunday.
Very quick one.
It is the fastest. I think it is the shortest time period allowable
Is that true?
by law. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it is actually.
It's quick. For those who don't know, April 28th, is that the correct date?
It's April 28th.
April 28th is election day. And we are currently near the end of March. I don't know the date.
That's close enough.
near
Near the end.
of March.
Yeah, April 28th is right, and it is the shortest amount of time allowed by Elections Canada.
Wow.
So the definition of a snap election is
Yes,
happening. That's such an interesting rule in our parliamentary system,
Yeah, it is.
right?
Snap election. Like you're talking about the details for what qualifies as snap
and
election.
the fact that you can call it on a whim. You look in like United States to compare, who obviously went a very different direction than we did in the 1770s when they chose to reject the crown and made their own system. They've got the exact same time every 4 years what you can expect, when you can expect it,
no matter what.
no matter what.
Yes.
There might have been the odd exception, but I don't think, unlike wartime, maybe there's been exceptions.
Maybe. Yeah.
But here ours fluctuates. There are parameters, as you know. But all that to say, this one was a snap election.
Yeah.
And you see the Liberal Party has risen up a lot in the polls.
Yeah.
Right. And the Conservatives have over the last couple of months been dropping.
The polls are such a weird thing, though.
I don't know if I give them that much.
Even look what happened
credibility.
in the U.S. with the polls. Remember that?
With Hillary and
No, not
Donald
Hillary.
Trump.
Kamala.
But the same thing was with Hillary.
Oh, was
when
it?
Trump took office in
I didn't know that.
2016, the polls were saying like landslide victory, Hillary Clinton.
I've never gotten a poll call in my life. Have you? Who are they polling?
Nope, I haven't been seen yet.
That's what I'm like.
Or texted.
It's not texts or calls or
No one's
who's
knocking on my
getting
door
polled.
yet.
I don't know anyone who's ever been polled, but yet they come out and say 42% of the country or 39% of the country. You're like, who? Like,
Well, they're normally based on like 1,000 people,
yeah, that's what I mean.
2,500
It's like,
people.
that is mental.
Like 2,500 or 5,000 is like a big
Let's find
survey.
out. I'm going to search that up.
Yeah, look it up. Look up where they are, because usually the ones I see sources are 1,000 people, and that's like 100-person spread out in different regions, and from that is what they base it on. But again, we're talking about not giving polls much credence. There is a little bit of that's a hard thing. How much do you trust the polls? They obviously represent a certain amount, but when it comes to demographics, I've been noticing a shift in age group from boomers to a generation younger than you and I in terms of how they are leaning or what they are thinking, what they want for the country.
They're quite silly how small they are.
What are you finding out there?
How do you get any opinion based on this? Yeah, like on March 23rd, 2025, they involved 1,599 Canadians. 4% decided voters support the Liberal Party, 38% back Conservative. It's 1,500 people.
Does it say locations of where they were?
Let me find out. No, it doesn't. Shows like that's such a tiny amount of people. Like what? That's what I don't understand. How can you get any opinion? Why is it not at least 15,000 people, 50,000 people? It's got to be a faster way to do it.
Time, money, people, I guess.
Yeah, but we live in the most tech advanced age in the world, and like incentivize it. So hey, for anyone who joins a poll, you get a tax break for a week. Who knows what? It's something. Give us if data is so precious, let's find a way. Let's find a way to incentivize it.
So on Angus Reid, which is they've been around a long time. They're quite reputable.
Yeah.
They are saying, okay, what's the latest poll here? Federal vote intention decided in leaning voters. From December 30th, the Liberals have risen from about 16% to 46%, while the Conservatives have dropped from 45% to 38%. So as of March 24th, they're calling an 8-point lead for the Liberals. This is new data from the not-profit Angus Reid Institute finds the Liberals' turnaround continues to climb in elevation, boosting the party to an 8-point lead, 46% to 38% over the Conservatives. And you have NDP has dropped a lot, 21% down to 7%.
Yeah, they're talking about how they're going to lose their official party status if it stays this way.
Okay, let's talk about this for a second, because this might go down as one of the biggest political mistakes in Canadian history. Yeah. Again, David's opinion. But you look at the leader of the NDP, Jagmeet Singh, and the position he was in November and December. Mm-hmm. You've had Conservatives wanting to call an election. They wanted to do a vote of non-confidence in Justin Trudeau and the Liberal government. Yeah. And obviously we know the NDP and Jagmeet Singh, they've been holding the balance of power. They're the ones that could have brought us to an election, but they always voted against it. Yeah. Even when Jagmeet was saying, we ripped up the deal, remember? But he still voted the other way. Yeah. NDP at that moment of time, let's say we went to a snap election, they actually had an opportunity to potentially be the opposition. Yeah. The official opposition government because of how much...
So they've lost that much support?
Yeah. But the Liberals were in the tanks. They were in the bottom of the bottom. Like they were so low. Yeah. And Conservatives were cruising. And NDP was, guess who picks up a lot of the votes that leave from the Liberals? It goes to NDP. But Jagmeet did not. And ever since then, and the Liberals have made the switch to Carney, Liberals have shot right back up in the polls, and NDP is being depleted. Yeah. Like absolutely depleted. So in terms of setting up your party and your party's future, because every time there's a party, there are some parties who are running, they know they're not going to win, but the goal is you want to advance as many every time, grow in popularity. It's a long, like you look at the Reform Party years ago, it took them like 16 years to build and actually get to a place where they merged with the then, I don't think it was called the Conservative, but whatever. The point is,
Progressive Conservative, I think.
Yeah, this is a massive decline. Yeah. Like, what a misstep. What a bad judgment in the sense of you could have progressed, but now you're going to have very little seats.
Yeah. Here's the numbers of breakdown of people per province or section of country. Atlantic Canada, 104 people. Quebec, 358 people. Ontario, 619. Manitoba, 102 people. Alberta, 181. BC, 224. How are we getting an opinion off that amount of people? Like that is just... Like, it just seems so tiny. It blows my mind. Also, actually, next question I'm going to ask right now. How did they conduct the survey?
Those are all important questions to ask for sure.
Because my point that I want to make here is, was it by phone landline? Who do you know has a landline? If it is. Do you have a landline, David? You do now, don't you? No.
I've been meaning to, but I haven't set it up.
Exactly my point.
Maybe that's why they're trying to
conduct this survey. Let's find out, because I'm really curious. If it's landline, it's like, good Lord, you've already disqualified how much of the country?
Yeah.
Let's find out.
Have you seen this picture going around? I got to find it, of the PPC. And people have been, I'm going to throw it up on the screen here. People have been asking if it's real or if it's faked, saying that they're projected by CTV News to get 84 seats. Have you seen this?
No, I haven't.
I think it's totally edited, but I've seen a lot of credible people reposting it. Okay, I put it on the screen. Hopefully you can see it. I think our TV's off there. There we are. But look at that. PPC on the side. It actually looks like it's edited in. 84 seats.
Is that a fake photo?
I think, well, I'm not sure. But February 28th, 2025, seat projections, Conservative 129, Liberal 96. Obviously, that's changed in the last month. I just think this has been circulating like crazy. I'm wondering if it was just an edited one that everyone's picking up.
Interesting. Yeah, I wonder.
Because they've never won a seat.
You just can't trust anything nowadays, especially in the AI world. It's so weird. So this here, get this is even stranger to me. These people on these sample sizes are volunteers who volunteer to be on the Ledger's web panel, which is a web page of survey takers.
Who conducted the survey you're looking at?
Conducted via Ledger's web panel, which is a representative panel of Canadians who volunteered to participate in surveys.
They volunteer. They're like, call us this. I see.
But even that, who?
You have a certain bend.
Who knows how to do that though? Whoever thought of that? Whoever knew that?
I've never once thought in my life to sign up
I didn't know it was
to
a
be
thing.
a go-to person for a survey.
I know. I have to be kind.
Have you?
No, it's a certain kind of person.
As our viewers, have you guys ever signed up to be the go-to for the poll?
What? Like
for surveys?
Yeah, it's just crazy.
The whole point of us just rambling back and forth about surveys is you got to take it with a grain of salt, especially in our day and age, because they don't. And this has been shown factually over the last several elections over multiple countries. They aren't always accurate, and they can be misleading. And it's important to know how many people were they situated. How are they poised? How are the questions poised to them? All these things matter. So, anyways, the polls have been showing the Liberals, and no doubt the Liberals have picked up steam since the Trudeau-Carney switch. But I kind of think to be honest, I think it's a little bit of a dead cat bounce.
Yeah, yeah. And they say that. I was watching CBC like 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, and they were interviewing somebody, some Toronto star, talk about it. And they were saying, they openly said like, well, this means nothing. Look what happened in Trump's thing. They were saying Kamala was favored in this. And so they were essentially saying there's no substance to be taken from here. So that's refreshing here. But it took about 10 minutes in the thing for them to say that. I wish they'd lead with that, saying, hey, this is the poll, but also it's only 1,500 people and they're volunteers, self-appointed volunteers that want to be in polls. So take that with a grain of salt. That's what they really should say.
What
was that?
Random advertisements on those website.
Oh, I was gonna say, I was like YouTube Premium. You don't have YouTube Premium?
No, I'm trying to read this poll quickly.
YouTube Premium fan right here. No ads. My time is precious.
Well, they're saying that there's a 6-point lead from ledger360.com. This is what CTV referenced in an article as of 6 hours ago. 44% of Canadians say they'd vote Liberal if the election were held today, compared to 38% for the Conservative Party. The NDP trails far behind with only 6%, according to this poll. That is crazy. I can't believe how much of a mess up that could be.
Yeah, like I asked, I said, what biases would be in this process? And it goes, here's what can be problematic. Self-selection bias. Only people who want to take surveys are included, and that's a particular type of person. No random sampling. Since it's not random, there's no real margin of error, even though there are often they report one as a comparison tool. Digital divide. People who are less tech savvy, older, or in remote areas do not have any representation. Response fatigue or gaming. Some panelists may respond quickly or carelessly just to earn points or rewards because they're reward-based systems. You know, ding, 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 like silly.
Well, we will find out April 28th how accurate the polls actually are. I will say, though, with Mark Carney as our current prime minister, he just recently backed out of the French debate, which is going to be coming up in the next time, whatever time period it is. I'm not sure when it is, but I know next.
Was there a reason given?
No, I just think
he speaks pretty well. Does he not? Is that the reason?
I don't know. I've been seeing. Again, this is on X and people's opinions, but guys saying French Canadian here, what Carney's speaking is not French.
Oh, so they're critical of it, and he's maybe aware of that.
Apparently, there's a certain word that he says that I'm not even going to say it.
Well, French Canadians are very sensitive to that too. Very sensitive. Like even, quite sensitive to it. My family comes from Ottawa and very French, and it's almost insulting to them when you try, which is interesting because a lot of the world is very different. If you try to speak their language anywhere you go, people are usually honored, and sometimes they'll just dismiss you from trying, being like, English, please. But it's usually honoring. From my experience in Montreal, don't try. It was not, from my experience. I'd be curious if anyone else agrees with me, but I was insulting people by trying, and they were getting upset. It's like, I'm trying
Interesting.
to respect your culture by speaking your language, but not my experience.
Well, I will say we are going to be doing a lot of work on the election coverage over the next month. So be tuning in, not just to CTZN, but to Merit TV, as we are going to be going heavy on that to bring you as much support as you can. So to tell you what's going on with each one of the candidates, each one of the parties, updates. So this is going to be daily, just so you guys know, daily election coverage on Merit TV as well. CTZN and some others will be part of the crew, which is going to be a lot of fun. And we're going to be culminating with actual election coverage the night of the election.
Yeah.
Is that too early to say?
No. There's a lot of details to figure out.
That's what I'm saying. Is that too early to say?
No, I don't think so. I think we need to gear people up to be ready, get ready. I'm looking forward to the perspective and the balance that it's going to bring. I get really excited about that.
I am so pumped for that night.
It's this on steroids is what I feel like, is because you and I bump into a lot of people who watch the show, and we talk with them, and they're going, "Thank you for your approach and your perspective and your take and good ideas." Like, that's what we need. I just love balance. I love perspective. I love good values just rising to the top, and that's what has to happen. It doesn't happen if conversations don't. So that's my take on it. Is that it's a greater opportunity for a balanced approach to help keep people informed. I think I think censorship is evil. And we have to be careful with censorship of any kind. Remember, you and I were talking about that example of like all of us in a room and someone started talking, I threw a blanket on their head. Hey, shut up. Like, you'd be like, what does he know that you were worried about? You would be very concerned. So in my opinion, censorship it should raise a bell in going like, whoa, why are you worried about what they have to say so badly? Why are you trying to suppress their speech? Suppression of speech forced is very dangerous.
Yep. But I'm really excited about that night. We're going to be inviting a lot of our friends on. Yep. So you guys, stay tuned if you want the election coverage Canada. We will be covering it on Merit TV. Us as CTZN will be there, bringing in a lot of our other friends that are going to be joining us throughout the night, all evening election coverage. So mark it in your calendars. Let your friends know. Help us share it once we start posting about it, as obviously we want to be able to do the best that we can going forward on that night. But it will be like an all hands on deck type of situation, giving you the latest results, lots of different opinions as to what's going on. It'll be fun to hang all evening.
Yeah.
Order lots of pizza coming in. Paul just sent me the fact check version. If you add up all the numbers of the PPC seats where they're 84, doesn't even equal the House of Commons seats.
So it must be.
It was digitally altered.
That's why we fact check. Gosh.
Yep. Very cool. On this whole poll thing that we're talking about, it's interesting. I brought up just a second ago. It really is true that the Liberals and Mark Carney are relying on the boomer vote. When you look at the polls that break down by demographic, it is very interesting to see.
How do you know that?
Just by reading the polls that we don't trust.
That's funny.
But they're breaking them up by demographic as to kind of who's leaning where, which is, to me though, that tracks because you have a lot of you and I are in our 30s, mid 30s. We have a lot of younger people that are watching us that are, if you're in your 20s or you're a young man, young woman, you're watching us, let us know, because a lot of them don't like the prospect of the Canada that they're walking into as professionals, thinking about family, thinking about home ownership, right? They might have been 12, 13, 14 when Justin Trudeau became prime minister in 2015. And now 10 years has passed and they're in their early adult and they're starting to look forward. And there's a lot of challenges they have to face. So based off of the reality of what they're looking at, you can see why a younger generation might side with a more common sense approach as what Pierre Poilievre is running on. Yep. Common sense. Let's obviously be responsible with our spending. Let's try to make he's got a way more of a nationalistic idea in terms of trying to make Canada the best place it can. So they're starting to see that, but then you also at the same time you've got boomers, call them 60 plus, especially a lot in Eastern Canada who have been a part of the Liberal Party for a long, long time and might just be always a Liberal Party member, always going to be here. And to be honest, David's opinion, head's probably in the sand in the sense of not looking at what are the real facts the last 10 years have brought us and where has it brought us as Canadians. And then also equating what does the leader of the Liberal Party stand for? Is he have similar stances? It's the same party, They've reshuffled their cabinet. But anyways, that age demographic thing has been interesting to see how there's an actual distinct difference now based on your age.
Yeah, that really is interesting. I think and we're probably going to be broken records on this, but I just meet too many people who don't know what is happening and why they even vote for a party or not. It's just like, you got to get into the values of each party. You got to go and look in policies. You got to figure out what they're looking at. You gotta allocate 7 to 15 minutes a day, and that's not a lot of time, but just 7 to 15 minutes a day. Look at things, look up the news, look up just both, and figure out why you believe what you believe. I had someone say this to me. I was talking to them on Sunday, and they said, I said, snap election happening, hey? And they went, oh, I'm so glad for you guys because you're my only source. I get it from you, and I lectured them a little bit. I went, don't let me be your only source. Don't let Citizen be your only source. I'm glad it is, like, a part of it, but don't let it be your only one. You gotta figure it out yourself. We just can't be lazy when it comes to being in our country. You gotta be vigilant. You gotta know why you believe what you believe. That's just what it comes down to.
Yeah.
We have too much to lose. Every single election, you have so much to lose. And I can't tell you how many times I meet people who don't vote. And it's like, oh, get out and vote. Every time you see the numbers, they're so pathetic. It's just rough.
I think you're not worthy of the title of being a citizen.
Yeah, that was an interesting idea you shared.
Yeah, which one?
We were on a show the other day, and you mentioned, wouldn't it be an interesting idea if you lost citizenship if you didn't vote?
Directly tied to it.
Yeah, or maybe 2 elections in a row or something. Maybe there's a
or
little
every
bit of
every 5 years. No, that way.
Yeah, you need to withhold an 80% voting rate or something like that.
Yeah.
Imagine if it's something like that. In the last 4 elections, did you maintain 80%? That's an interesting thought. I actually wouldn't mind exploring that a bit more, because you would actually get representation. It's so pathetic how much of the country decides the whole country, and that goes just about worldwide. It's sad.
Paul,
really sad.
clip it. We want to ask everyone if being a Canadian citizen should be directly tied to you voting. If you don't vote, let's say for 2 or more consecutive elections, you lose your citizenship.
What an interesting.
Where do we deport them?
Yeah. Just some
no. We will
an island.
We will cut out a small piece of the Arctic where non-voters can go to live, and
then they have to hold their own elections over there, and nobody votes at.
100% solution. We're going to get 90% voter turnout now.
For sure, you would. That would be. It would. I don't know. That's such a good idea. I love that idea. What do you guys think at home? Let us know what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Is there holes in that idea? I love it. Is it getting closer to a dictatorship style where people will lose their ability to vote when they, you know what I mean? Could it be taken advantage of? I don't know. I like it. I like the concept.
Oh, it's awesome, man.
Yeah.
It puts a weight on when you have to go.
And
there should already be a weight on when you vote, but it makes it more weighty. Yeah, I got something to lose.
For sure it does.
Real skin in the game. Even though we actually have we have real skin in the game, whether you vote or not.
Yeah.
Right? If you've been living in Canada the last 10 years, you are most likely not as well off as you were 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That's legitimate skin in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, anyways. For sure. It's a privilege. We have such a privilege.
That's the right way to put it.
Yeah. We have such an incredible privilege to vote. And to not do it is to just not be grateful. Not be grateful for the amazing country we have.
Yeah. It's interesting to where do you want to go next? Because we're talking about voting. That's a big thing.
There's a lot in my head I want to talk about with USA, but
we should get there.
We go there so often, and we talk about Trump so often. But there's definitely a lot going on. One thing that was interesting was that the Prime Minister was under questioning, and they were asking if President Trump is taking his call, or actually if vice versa.
Yeah,
that was an interesting.
Let's talk about that for a second.
It was super interesting. Yeah,
because the way the Liberal Party and the media was making it sound like was that Carney himself was saying, "I will talk to Donald Trump when he respects the sovereignty of our nation."
Yeah,
and that type of thing.
Yes,
it was not a priority, even though the Liberals and Carney has been saying this is the greatest threat to our democracy. This is the greatest threat we have seen.
So then a reporter asked and said, "So are you saying he's not going to take your call until after the election?" And then Prime Minister's response was, "That's one way of interpreting it." I'm like, one way of interpreting it.
So is
What does
another
that
way
mean?
of interpreting it that
I know. I was like, what does that
the
mean?
president of the United States doesn't recognize
Yeah.
our prime minister as legitimate?
I don't know if that would be the phrasing. Yeah, it doesn't. I don't think that's the phrasing. No.
No, he never said those words.
No, I
but
think
could
he
that be
doesn't
interpreted that way because he was unelected.
No, I think he's trying to say that there's no point in talking now until we see what this election does. It's a month and a half away. It's kind of how I'm taking it.
But there's also tariffs. He not doubled down. He said today tariffs are still coming in April 2nd.
Yeah, they're still on. They're on right now.
Yeah, but there's also others that are going to be
yeah?
implemented
Oh,
April
geez.
2nd.
I talked to a guy.
That might be other countries. I think there might be additional ones on Canada as well.
I talked to a guy who buys and sells and flips bikes, and like rebuilds them and customizes them. And he went down and bought 2 bikes in the States and brought them back in. And he had a $2,500 bill on top of it.
Here, I want to show.
When he crossed the border. Yeah, and I was like, oh,
Yeah, man, that
and he's like, now he's got to figure out how to cut. Like he's literally like, I'm changing my customization plans because I have to recoup that $2,500 somehow. I have to find a way to do more.
Here's the video.
To put us in a strong position. See, this is a fundamental mistake that the Americans are making. They think they will weaken us. They think that they can own us, quite frankly. That's what they think. We are going to get stronger. We are going to wait this out. They're going to come to the table, and we're going to negotiate a good deal for the Canadians. Thank you, Steve.
Sir, did you say that President Trump is waiting to talk to the Prime Minister of whoever wins this election?
Well, that's an interpretation, but I think it's a reasonable interpretation. I'm available for a call, but, we're going to talk on our terms as a sovereign country, not as what he pretends we are, and on a comprehensive deal.
Has announced that Tesla.
Can we just talk about the feature every time you show a video that happens? There's gotta be.
How do you time this thing?
There's gotta be.
It's not a
timing thing. I guarantee you, there's a feature that says like "Don't auto slide" or something. Like every time you watch a video, it's like you get punched in the face with some audio, and thankfully, it's like not bad. But
I want to show a video that I found too.
can someone in the comments tell me if I'm right? Is there settings that David needs for his Twitter feed? Gosh. Anyway, but that's interesting. Hey, well, like. It's just a strange interaction altogether. And then I also find it odd how he's saying on our terms. You can't determine that.
It's not on our terms.
Nobody can determine that.
He just said it's actually on Trump's terms.
Yeah.
But it's going to be on my terms.
Yeah.
No, like he's not taking a call.
Yeah.
I'm available.
It's like you and I in an argument and you're saying, you're walking out of the room. And I'll say to you, we'll talk when I'm ready to talk, but you just walked out of the room. Like, no. I don't think I have a part to play in that. Like, you're gone.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, but this is the thing that doesn't add up to me. Biggest threat, biggest thing on our doorstep.
Exactly.
It is, people have been throwing out national emergency, all hands on deck.
Yeah.
Premier meetings all together with Trudeau when he was prime minister, and Carney takes office last week. Does not make the United States a priority in his first day, 2, 3, or 4. He flies to England, spends $500,000, according to that question that was asked him, of taxpayers' dollars, while currently not holding any seat, not elected. He is a prime minister, leader of the Liberal Party, but he's not an elected member of parliament in our country. The biggest threat has not been addressed. In fact, there's been other priorities instead of it. And now when you get this, they're not going to talk. It's just, it shows again, such another, we are in such a weak position as a country when it comes to those things. So it's just very frustrating to see. This election, again, is very important. I'm not mad that Carney's not negotiating on our behalf. Like I'm glad we're waiting to the end of it, or at least Trump is, if that's true, saying we'll wait till the election is done for who's the actual prime minister to allow, because we've been advocating for this. Call an election, allow Canada to decide who is going to be at the wheel to navigate this next path that we're on, right? So Canadians get to decide, which is great. But this stuff just does not give me a lot of confidence in the meantime. So
when Trump is, I think, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure he's not endorsed, but I think he's supporting the Liberal Party.
No, he full on said that he prefers to work with liberals. Paul, can you text that clip if you find
here,
it?
I just typed it in as I was asking you to see if I could find anything. So it says U.S. President Donald Trump has made remarks suggesting that his preference for Canadians' Liberal Party in the upcoming federal election. In Fox News interviewing Trump, he stated, "I'd rather deal with a Liberal Party than a Conservative," indicating his inclination towards the Liberals over the Conservative Party led by Pierre Poilievre. Interesting.
So again, strategic, I think.
He's always strategic.
Right? Like, you got to like, I often, people might not think Trump is this smart. I think he's playing 4D chess with the people that's around him.
You can't say he's
like,
not smart. I don't know who could say that, but yeah.
He's not stating that off of a whim. Like, he's probably thinking 4 moves ahead with that. But the way I interpret it is, if you have, it's the same party that's been governing for the last 10 years. There's some people that moved in and out, but it's the same party. But the same policies, same ideas that we have been doing for the last 10 years. And you look at the position it has put us in. I honestly think Trump thinks it's going to continue to weaken Canada and put more emphasis on the things that he wants to accomplish. Puts him in a stronger negotiating position. Trump is all about negotiating.
Oh, so you're saying you think Trump wants Canada? He thinks this would be a weaker Canada, and he wants that. And if that happens,
I'm totally speculating.
He gets his 51st state.
But yeah, you look at how Pierre Poilievre is campaigning, or how he's been talking before the campaign started.
I don't think that's an outrageous thought.
And Carney, Poilievre is very nationalistic, and I think he could be stronger with him saying that. But he is that. That's what Trump is. Like, love him or hate him. He doesn't really care, because we're not Americans. He's nationalistic. He wants the best for that nation, that country.
Yeah.
Pierre is riding on similar things. And I think that would be a tougher position for Trump to negotiate with, is a man like Pierre Poilievre, because I think he understands a bit more of the position we're in, but at the same time, he's going to be going through. It's kind of like more so debating himself as opposed to debating someone. So I'm wondering if he's doing a little bit of reverse psychology there with Canadians. Yeah. In the sense of because if we keep doing what we're doing, we're going to keep getting the results that we get.
Yeah, he's definitely playing some form of chess with the parties. Like, he's taking calls and he's not. Danielle Premier Smith went down there. Also, Prime Minister Trudeau went down there. So he's communicating, he's doing stuff, and he's strategic. He's very strategic.
I want to show a video.
It's interesting what he's kind of doing with all of them.
I got a text message yesterday from a former MP, and they, obviously former, no longer in their position, but very prominent, and said no one's talking about this specific thing, because Mark Carney alluded to the fact of that. Just want to get my thought here for a second. That Mark Carney alluded to the fact that Donald Trump doesn't respect us as a sovereign nation, because he keeps saying he wants to own us or buy us. And that's what he's referring to. When he respects us as a sovereign nation, I'll have a conversation. That's what it's all about. And that's all about Trump's remarks in terms of 51st state. Come join us. Like, well, it'll be way better. So Trump, a lot of people are saying that's very disrespectful, which I think to a certain extent it
and I get the point on that.
But there's video evidence of Justin Trudeau that sounds like he was the one that actually started the joking of swapping X state for Y province. And I wonder if that...
I've heard you say this, but I've never seen the clip.
Here's the video. This was when Trudeau went down to Mar-a-Lago. I found it yesterday. And he went on Jen Psaki's former chief press or White House press officer. He went on her show, and I just want to play you the clip so you can hear what it is.
Back and forth about this, and when I started to suggest, well, maybe there could be a trade for Vermont or California for certain parts, he immediately decided that it was not that funny anymore, and we moved on to a different conversation. So this isn't out of the blue that he's doing this, but my focus has to be not on something that he's talking about that will not ever happen, but more on something that might well happen, that if he does choose to go forward with tariffs that raise the cost of just about everything.
Interesting. I've never seen that before.
Yeah. And I got a text saying, no one's talking about, even though it was in jest and as a joke, as he clearly said, but it sounded that may have been the catalyst to start all of this rhetoric since then.
Interesting.
Isn't that funny?
That is funny. Crazy.
But imagine if that was Pierre Poilievre.
Oh yeah,
who made the joke
for sure
to Trump saying let's trade. He would have been raked over the coals.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
I thought that's
it is interesting. Like, remember your prediction you talked about with what they would do, and by trying to associate certain parties with Trump and such.
Yeah.
What's interesting is all parties are actively rejecting Trump, and that's seems very strategic. And I get it. I totally get it. But one of the things that I think, which is why we do what we do, is the media is a machine, and it's busy right now. It's busy. So, like, for example, my thoughts to anyone who's watching at home is like, when something starts getting like shoved down my throat, like consistently, bam, 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 and I see it from so many spots, my first gut instinct now is, who's paying for this? Who sponsored this? Who's paying for this? Because how did they hit me 15 times in the last 12 hours? Every time I open my phone or did this or put on the radio, I'm like, it's all on repeat. Who's doing this? And that's what I mean every time I use the phrase, the machine is busy. The media machine is real busy right now. So it's worth keeping your antennas up and being watchful, because it's
and
odd.
Not taking headlines or comments, because guess what? Comments could be bots.
Yeah.
There's program bots that are specific for
so many.
So you have to be careful and not just take a headline.
Yeah.
Like someone told me the other day a headline of Joe Rogan endorsed Pierre Poilievre. And that's a big word, endorse. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? Well, it wasn't an actual endorsement. There's a headline that said that, but it wasn't really true.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan just made a sense. Come on, Canadians. The guy seems like he's common sense. Like that seems like you should pick. It's not like an official endorsement where I'm throwing my full support. You know what I mean? I'm just saying we have to be very careful with language and wording.
For sure.
And go deeper on what's being said. Read the article and then question who wrote the article. What does this person generally think? But
yeah, like even ChatGPT says right now that there's no verifiable evidence based on that claim that he endorsed him.
Yeah, exactly. There's no endorsement.
Yeah. Especially in the AI world. I saw a video this afternoon of, and this is what's so annoying and dangerous, is AI video, is that it was a cruise ship with a giant pipe on the back and protesters behind it. And it was dumping sewage into the back, saying this is what a lot of these cruise liners do, And I was like, my gut instinct was, holy smokes, this is insane. And I click on the chats, and everyone's like freaking out. And then all of a sudden, and then I realized it's all fake. It's all AI. And everyone's commenting it's all AI. And I was like, oh my gosh. And no one knows, no one even, like hardly anyone knew it. They're all still fighting and arguing. Ridiculous.
There's, I've been noticing a couple of comments on YouTube, on some of the socials as well, about what we're talking over. I think we've been realistic with the last 10 years results that we've seen in Canada. And people have been saying, well, that's negative, right? I've seen a couple of comments.
That is negative? What do you mean?
Well, I wish you guys would be more positive about Canada and stop being so negative about it, things like that. And I just that stuck out. Yeah, it stuck out to me. It wasn't overwhelming, but it stuck out to me because Jeremy and I, we love Canada. We're very optimistic about the future. We think we've got the raw resources this country needs to be a top country in the world. We think it's been mismanaged for a while. I'll speak for myself. I think it's been mismanaged for a while. And when we're talking about the reality, I think it's really important in order for things to actually change in any situation, in your life, in your career, talk about politics, in your country, in your family. If things have been going awry for a while, you got to take a realistic look at why are we in the position we're in? What have we done that's caused us to be here? And you and I have been focusing a lot on what are the actual stats and the facts of Canada and where we're at right now, so that we can understand this is where we're at and we don't want to be here. You have to understand your past before you can move forward and actually improve upon it. So that's why you and I have been talking a lot about these things. And there's just not a lot of good metrics that is positive in Canada at this moment.
Well, and also it seems like such a strange take on it. It's like I don't care what situation we're in, I don't care how good it gets. Even let's say we get into a very good place in 6 months. we're still going to look for the things of improvement and where we can capitalize, and where we can grow, and what we can do. Even with my life right now, let's just make it very personal. In my life right now, I'm the most disciplined I've ever been in my whole life. I read the most I've ever read. I study the most I've ever read. I read my Bible the most I've ever done. I watch the least amount of shows I've ever watched. Like, I'm probably the most disciplined version of myself in my whole life, ever in my whole life. And my daily routine is, what can I improve? What can I look at? What can I get better at? What book can I read? Who do I need to meet? It's just a trajectory. Like, it's just it's a constant trajectory. I'm not sitting here and go, be positive. Find, like, yes, sure, be positive. But I'm on a trajectory. I'm going places. I got things to do. I realize I got skill sets that I don't have yet, because there's a constant leveling up. And every time I bump into somebody who's at a new level, my bar rises. And it keeps rising. And I keep going better. So
but you're looking for things that aren't working.
It's a bit of a ridiculous mindset, in my opinion. We're going to find things that need improving and continually push, especially when potential is lost.
Yeah.
If there's potential sitting dormant and we're not capitalized on it,
it's the worst.
It's getting criticized. Yep. That's a promise. Like, we're going to criticize potential that's not being used, especially in the sheer volume of potential that this country has. Look everywhere, and we have potential everywhere. And we probably always will. It's going to be, it's a great
the potential
great place.
Is amazing for Canada.
Yeah.
We have got such a robust potential for our economy, our resources, the amount of intellect and ingenuity that Canadians have shown, especially in tech and advancements in those areas over the last 20 years, but we haven't done a good job at managing it to actually build Canada.
Yeah.
We can do that, but we've been mismanaged. I want to read a couple things so Canadians understand. Can I give some facts on Canada?
Yeah.
So if you look at Canada since 2016, we were $684 billion in debt in 2016. We are now 1.375 trillion by the end of 2024.
Can I pause here for 1 second? This is a little bit my brain jumping around. Did you know the U.S. is getting $1 trillion in debt every 100 days? Growing their debt.
How much?
1 trillion every 100 days.
No.
Yeah. That's why Doge is so
important. Sure it's not a billion?
Nope, it's a trillion.
I triple check that, dude. I can believe a billion.
Watch. No.
But
billion?
A trillion.
Watch.
Okay.
Keep reading what you're reading. I'm searching up.
So that's 692 billion of extra increase in the last 9 years of debt. Just so everyone understands, that means we have borrowed $210 million of debt every day for the last 9 years. Not made, not produced, not manufactured, not brought value, but we have borrowed that much money.
Yeah.
Imagine yourself personally. Every single day, this is how much my debt is increasing. We in our homes are trying to do the exact opposite. We're trying to minimize that. Okay, what does it say?
Read it yourself.
Don't break on me. As of March 6, 2025, this is ChatGPT, the United States total federal government debt reaches $36 trillion. I knew that. This marks an increase of approximately $2 trillion since February 2024. That's indicating,
but read my question too. I didn't prompt it even.
How much debt is the USA increasing every 100 days?
I didn't even tell it a number. Yeah. You know what I mean? I didn't leave it on.
You want to know?
Think about that.
Why also President Trump is so motivated with what he's doing when it comes to tariffs, when it comes to do with manufacturing, when it comes to do lowering taxes, trying to attract business. Like, Doge is trying to cut $1 trillion. Trump is trying to raise up $1 to $2 trillion in extra revenues within the country by attracting business.
And the thing that I was watching, and the reason I know this is because I was watching Elon break down, and he was like, guys, it's $1 trillion every 100 days. Soon it'll be $1 trillion every 90 days. Then it'll be $1 trillion every 80 days. Think about that. Then it'll be $1 trillion every 70 days, 60 days, 50 days. He's like, get to the place where it's every 10 days, then we're gone. We cannot save the ship. The ship is sinking. And so that's what he's talking about. If they're at a rate, like, think about how much $1 trillion is.
I know.
That's why your instinct was correct. You mean $1 billion? No, I mean 1,000 billion, right? No.
We'll put it this way.
1,000 billion. Yes, it's 1,000 billion.
We talked about how many is a million seconds. Remember this?
Yes, it was like 11 days.
And what was a billion seconds? It was like thousands of years, or 1,000 years, 600 years.
Stupid long.
Yeah, I can't
30 years. It was 33
So you do $1 trillion, you're talking
it was 30 something years.
I think it was longer. ChatGPT, this one. Our memories are bad. This was from...
it was 33 years long.
This was pre-vacation,
How
I think,
many
our conversation.
days is 31 years? Yeah. So a billion... What's the question? A billion
Okay,
seconds?
1 million seconds is like 11 days.
Yes.
A billion seconds is 31 years. A trillion seconds.
Tell me how good my memory is. I was off by 2 years.
What's a trillion
You were off
seconds?
by like 30,000 years.
A trillion seconds has got to be in like the tens of thousands of years.
Andrea, trillion seconds. We're talking to our producers, everyone at home.
The calculator on the...
How many seconds?
Okay, we're going to go with 31,000 years.
Trillion.
The point is,
seconds.
That's insane. How astronomically big that becomes.
So, but yes, they're doing a trillion every 100 days.
Okay, so Canada's debt has increased a ton. But actually, no, back to what I was saying, Jer.
Wait, this is not.
Is that number?
31,689 years.
Yeah, that's a trillion to a billion to a million, what we just said. 11 days, 31 years, 31,000 years. That's how crazy it is. So what Trump's trying to do with Doge, cut a trillion to get their debt down because they're losing, as you said, so much. Get revenues up where you're up 1 to 2 trillion. How they're doing this? Tariffs is one of the ways. They're trying to restructure world trade. They're trying to bring production. Look at this slide here in a second. This is why Trump is doing tariffs. And I don't like that he's threatening Canada with tariffs, just so everyone gets me. But I do understand the point that placement that he is in. In Canada, I don't mind short-term pain for long-term gain. If we can bring back production and we can bring back manufacturing and we can bring back wealth generation to our country for ourselves, you're making yourselves strong, not dependent. Yeah. So look at this. So at the top here, these are the companies that are already committed to come back to the United States. SoftBank. Oracle, yeah, 500 billion, SoftBank, Apple, 500 billion. NVIDIA said they're going to commit hundreds of billions of manufacturing. Crazy. These are all of their tech in America. TSMC, 100 billion. Johnson & Johnson, 55 billion.
100 billion.
Go down.
500 billion? Who's that?
GE Aerospace, 1 billion and 5,000 jobs.
What's
Honda,
the one under Oracle there?
Oracle is SoftBank.
Does that say 500 billion?
500 billion. Same with Apple, 500 billion. They're going to commit. Honda, Nissan, Hyundai, Prepack, Crazy Art. They're all moving their manufacturing, shifting production to America. This is something that actually works, seems to be working with tariffs. Yeah. Trump is trying to bring all of this back to generate wealth.
Wow.
Back to what I was saying with Canada. Come on, pull up my notes. I just lost my notes. Sorry, guys.
Cut the camera. Here we go. Cut the camera to me.
Yeah. You're just sleeping. So I said 210 million additional debt. Canada, that's what we've changed in the last 10 years. Right now, taxpayers, we paid $24.15 billion in interest on federal debt in 2016, Jeremy. Now it's $53.55 billion in interest. That's more than
annually.
Annually, it's more than doubled.
That's more than $1 billion a week.
Yeah. So because of that, think of that. That is money that cannot go to infrastructure in Canada, which makes your life better. Imagine having an extra $40 billion that you could actually put towards parks, healthcare, all the education, all the things that matter and make us a great country. But no, we're pissing it away.
Yeah.
A couple other ones I wanted to show here is I've shown this one before about Canada's real GDP per capita growth. We are the second to worst out of the OECD. So we showed this, I think, our last show. We have Ireland and Poland and Turkey, all these ones above us, meaning we haven't grown. It's at 1.4%. The high costs that come from our self-regulation, not letting other countries in competition. You know how many headquarters have moved away from Canada in terms of job headquarters? The stat, I'm trying to find the stat here real quick. It is pretty high. I'll get there in a second.
Imagine if, you're looking for it, imagine if they took 40 billion and imagine if it was just put into like a low yield bond or something like that, like just earning 3 or 4%.
Yep.
Think about the percentage of that. 1% of 40 billion would be 400 million.
1% of 40 billion. Yep. Very good.
3% of that, 1.2 billion.
Yep. Totally.
And that's reoccurring. Like imagine if that was like a reserve of cash where they said, hey, this is going to be the extra fund for helping the poor in Alberta.
Yep.
And that was just sitting there, 1.2 billion a year, 1.2 billion a year, 1.2 billion. And that's at 3%.
Yep.
You could get 8 or 9, I'll bet.
Here's some more
Gosh,
stats. Young
that's so
Canadians
crazy
have
when you
been
realize
priced
that.
out of housing affordability in Canada. You look at that. You look at the fact that Canada's public sector and jobs has outgrown private sector. Here's the stats. Private sector employment
that's crazy.
over the last 10 years has grown by 18.7%. Public sector employment has grown by 30%.
Wow.
Guess what? And this is the one that's the scariest. Self-employment has stayed the same.
Wow.
No growth. Meaning, a lot of times with self-employment, these are the guys who are taking risk. They're being, they're looking to use their ingenuity to create new things. This is where a lot of growth can come from.
Imports, exports. Yeah.
That is a scary stat. So my point in saying is that we actually have a net loss in terms of money leaving Canada when it comes to investment.
Wow.
The reason, guys, just so we know, this is not being negative. This is showing we want to look at what are our actions doing and what results do they produce.
Here's a positive spin.
Show me.
We have an opportunity to change it, guys.
I know, totally. That is a positive spin. So good.
Right? Like, of course, like, anyway, that whoever's mentioned that, I would love to connect that person because it's like, I get the point. So negative. No, negative is a weird look on it. I'm saying we're looking at ideas that need to improve. That's all it is. That's what politics is. They're creating policy to improve. Go to your politician and be like, stop being negative. Don't make policy anymore. Please stop. Policies, the whole idea of policy is to correct something, to bring change because it's not working. That's all it is. We're just discussing policy.
Yep. I would love to see really less policy. Smaller government,
For sure.
less bureaucracy. Red tape has scared a lot of things away. So all that to say, you guys, is with the election coming up, 5 weeks, stick with us as we walk through it, but also make sure you look up each party so you know what they stand for, how they differ from each other, where are they on the same page, because just a reminder, you are going to be voting for your party through your member of parliament in your riding. So take a look at what they represent, what they stand for, get educated on it, vote. We expect every citizen to vote.
Absolutely.
Like our citizens.
I hope this is like a record-breaking turnout. It'd be so cool.
But in terms of citizens, like our people who watch us, I meant. It's kind of confusing.
There you go.
We expect
I didn't catch that.
If you're not going to vote, stop watching. But keep watching, but make sure you vote.
Like, subscribe, and share.
Do all this stuff that we're so impassionate about to say, like and repost.
Yeah. Awesome.
Are we done?
Show goes on. Bam.
See you guys next time.
Election 2025.